Don't feel like painting the inside instrument cluster of your flyer? I'll show you how easy it is to paint your canopy and paint some really cool reflection effects here in this video. What's going on, guys? Freak here from the channel Frost and Fist, and we'll welcome you to this really cool video. So I got a little something special, and this is of course going out to the Patreon folks. So Wolf Brother Mythos has had gotten this really cool flyer, right? A lot nicer than mine. And as a matter of fact, we played a game Saturday, a little demo game, just to see how his White Scars did, right? And that flyer destroyed stuff. Did a great job. Anyway. Now the thing is, you know, some people will, when they're putting their flyers together, right, they'll paint the inside of the canopy, right, because it's typically transparent. You can see right through it, and which is pretty typical. That's what you want to do. You want to paint the inside instrument cluster. You can see the, you know, the guy inside it, right, and Mythos kind of looked at mine, and he goes, man, he says, I want a canopy painted like that. And I want the reflection effect like you have on yours. And I tried to give him a way out, you know. I was like, look, man, you know, by the way, he did paint the inside of the instrument cluster. You know, I did that too. It's just a weird thing. And I know nobody knows, you know, nobody's going to see it. But I'm kind of weird like that. I know it's there. Yeah. I know it's there. Even though nobody will ever see it through that. I know it's there. Anyway, so he painted it, did a beautiful job, took pictures of it, by the way. And then he says, yeah, I want you to paint my canopy. Like, all right. So, but I wanted to do a tutorial to show you guys how easy it is to do that, because I know some of you guys don't feel like painting the inside of your canopy, you know, or I'm sorry, the inside of your, the instrument cluster, or the actual, anyway, the instruments. I'll show you how easy it is to do this. I'm going to do a little talk through and check it out. And it's really, really, really simple. Only takes maybe 10 minutes tops. Really, really simple. Yeah, I mean, I think his turned out a little better than mine. I like the way his turned out. I should have toned mine down a little bit more. Mine's a little too glossy. But anyway, so check this out, guys. And then I'll come back and... Okay, here we go. So this is my flyer. I painted the canopy because I didn't feel like messing with the inside. Well, I kind of did, but I don't think I did a good enough job. So I wanted to paint the canopy and throw some reflections. I've seen it done, and basically we're going to take this very transparent canopy. We're going to turn it into that. So I think it turns out pretty cool. And that's what Mythos wants, and that's what Mythos is going to get. So pretty stoked about it. Again, it's super easy, guys. First thing we're going to use is Surface Primer by Vallejo. Stuff is pretty thick, so you want to thin it down. I actually use Vallejo airbrush thinner to cut it down some. I use 1 part thinner, 1 part Surface Primer. That way that stuff doesn't glob on you. If you try to use it straight up, man, that stuff is going to glob up on you bad. It's going to clog your airbrush. By the way, you just saw me stab myself. I didn't have my guard on. That was pretty stupid. Anyway, so we're going to do the backflow technique. Get some of that stuff nicely churned, and we go right to it. The first thing we want to make sure we do is we want an even coat of primer throughout this thing. You got to understand, this is acrylic, or I think it's plastic. I'm not sure. I guess it's... Anyway, it's plastic, but in either case, it's a very smooth surface. If you put any paint on there without putting any kind of surface primer, you run the risk of it running or not taking it all, easily scratched, easily, you know, you get the picture. So we want a nice even coat of this surface primer. Make sure that it provides that extra tension, that grit for that paint, that black paint we're going to throw on there here in a little bit. We want to make sure that sticks really well. We don't want it to come off. Okay. You can see I had a little hard time controlling it, so basically I just throw it back down or let the paper towels kind of snag onto it, and I'll just paint down onto it. Again, nice even coats. I'm pushing about 25 psi. I don't want to blast the thing, and it allows me a little better control. So now I dump this stuff out, clean my airbrush. The cool thing is that you don't have to constantly or thoroughly clean your airbrush. You just run some water or run some airbrush cleaner, a dab or two, just get whatever's out there so you don't clog up the nozzle. Dry tip is no good. So here I'm adding a little more airbrush thinner. You can see right there, by the way, I do use the Vallejo airbrush thinner. The stuff is amazing. Stuff works great. And I'm adding in the black. And I'll show you in just a second what kind of black paint that I'm using. It is a Vallejo. It is Game Air. I think it's what it is. Not Game Air. I think it is Model Air. Here, I'll show you in just a second. But I think I do spend a little more time cleaning my airbrush. I'm a little anal about that. Did I just say that? I said anal, didn't I? Anyway. So, here it is. It is Model Air by Vallejo Black. The blacker the black. Anyway, this stuff is pretty good. I rotate anywhere from that to Vallejo Game Air Black. Both of those work just as well. You can use either one interchangeably. All right, so I've got, once again, I mix it 1-to-1. Because here's the thing, the lower the pressure, the more chance you have of it actually clogging up your nozzle, and that's what you do not want. So I want to make sure that I thin my paint as much as possible. I'm running a 25 psi, so I want to make sure that the paint is thinned down to the consistency of, and you probably heard it, thin 2% or skim milk. Okay. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a nice even coat of black without it flying off my hands like this. Again, we want a nice coat. I'm trying to grab it without messing up the edges. I mean, that's kind of silly, but this is the best way that I can actually hold it. So, all right. Now, here's a really cool technique. I almost stuck with this particular technique. You can do this. It's just totally up to you. This is total personal preference. So basically, you can just do a little blast just toward the inside of the actual frame or the pane of that section of the canopy, and you can leave the edges like that. You can see how the edges are kind of gray. That gives it a really cool effect. You can do it. I mean, you can pretty much do that and call it done. But I committed to Mythos. I'm just going to paint his just like I did mine. So I went ahead and I did a solid black for the entire canopy. I wanted to be consistent with the man. I didn't want to mess him over. You know what I mean? So I went ahead and I paint the whole thing black just like I promised I would while I flipped it over off my hands. The neat thing about this, again, the paint is pretty thin. I'm barely pushing out I'm not pushing too much product out at one time. You know airbrushes, you can control the amount of product that you release from that trigger. So I barely have it out. Get it? No, just kidding. I'm barely pushing out any product, more air than I am product. And give it a nice even coat. Every now and then I'll back off on the paint and just leave the air, let it dry out a little more, a little faster. Yeah, this has turned out really nice. Like I said, I've seen this done on another video, and I've only seen one person do it. I don't even remember who did it, but his stuff turned out really good, and I wanted to emulate it. I wanted to do this so bad. And you can do this with other colors too. You can do it with like a dark blue or a purple, whatever it is that you can do to darken that up, and then you can go back and do your reflection stripes. And I'll show you in just a second how I do that. Okay. So this is completely painted black. Looks great. It's even. It's pretty much how I need it. because now the next step is we need to get a straight edge. You can use any kind of straight edge you can find. I used, what was it I was using? I was using some type of plastic of some sort. It was really thin. It was I use it for tracing stuff. But the cool thing about it is it was a perfect pliable edge that was not too rigid, but yet not too flimsy like paper. You don't want to use paper. Okay, you want something that's going to, pretty much hold down. All right, so clean out my airbrush. We're doing again 1:1 ratio using Vallejo Game Air Dead White. That stuff is awesome. It is whiter than white. This stuff is crazy. What I'm going to do is going to draw or paint the reflections on both sides of the canopy, and then we're going to do it on the top as well. So do a quick cut from this sheet that I have so I can get my straight edge. And there it is. And this is what I'm going to use here. Now, the first thing that you have to do is you've got to set up where you want your reflections. Okay, and I'm basically trying to get an idea of where I want the reflections on the top as well. So I'm going to go ahead and load up my airbrush again. It's a 1:1 ratio. The airbrush thinner. You can use water if you want. Whatever floats your boat, man. Anything that can help break the tension a little bit from that paint. You do not want chunky white. Again, we're using 25 psi pushing out of that thing, and we do not want spitting. That will ruin your day. And you do not want snow or chunks or starlight. Yeah, it would ruin your day. So here we go. So you do it light dusting. You start out first. I start out with just the air first, and then just the light dusting. A little bit from that white. We do not want to overspray. We're just a little light. We did the first line, and then I'm doing the second one right here. Just a nice little dusting. Not too bright. It almost gives it a nice blue hue. And that's what you want. You do not want it bright white. You want to give it like a grayish blue hue. I'm going to do the other side here. Again, we'll do the second line or the second reflection. All right. That looks good. And now I'm going to do the other one here. Now we're going to work on the top of the canopy. Okay. So we're going to do like a cross angle reflection. I think that's going to look really good here. So we're just going to drop it right there. And very light. And then we'll do a second one a little further out. Right there. That's good. Just a little dust. You see how I'm barely spraying that on. You do not want to overspray. And there it is, man. There you have it. Okay, now here is the thing. I know we put some surface primer on it. And we got some good paint on it. And we got our reflection on it. We don't want that to get washed away, or we don't want it to get peeled off or scratched. It's still very vulnerable. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure we coat the heck out of it. What I usually do, I will use a gloss. It's really important because the acrylic gloss will help protect the canopy really well. And then because it's too glossy, we'll tone it back down with matte varnish. It's really important to do that. Both of those coats will actually harden the outer, we'll create a shell outside of that canopy, and that will make it nice and durable, because you're going to be handling that sucker. You're not going to be taking that off, but people are going to be, oh, look at that, sticking their fingers in there, and you're like, ha, stick your fingers away. So here it is. We use the gloss varnish from Vallejo. Okay, and we're going to spray it all around the canopy. Again, even coat. And yes, I do thin this as well, okay, because this stuff is pretty thick. So again, do a 1:1 ratio. 1 part airbrush thinner, 1 part gloss varnish. And that stuff comes out like, well, I'm not going to say what it looks like, but it's pretty thick. Do a backflow technique. Make sure that stuff gets all mixed up really good in that airbrush. And then away we go. Again, nice, even strokes. You don't want to miss anything. You want to leave patches. No patches. Patches are bad. Patches are bad, okay? Yeah, I don't want that. No patches. So here I am just spraying that sucker around, just making sure that the whole thing is covered evenly with the gloss. Again, this stuff is amazing. It works great. And again, the whole purpose of putting the gloss down is to make sure that it does not get scratched or has a lesser chance of getting scratched up. You know, it'll definitely endure weathering, real weathering, and handling. So this will give you a nice protective coating. And I think it'll look cool in the end too. Okay. Now, the purpose of doing this is not to give it a gloss. Of course, giving it a slight sheen works really well, but we don't want to kill the reflections. That's another thing too. If you're doing any kind of edge highlighting, you do not want to use much gloss, because the gloss, any kind of gloss you use and you have edge highlighting, will cause the edge highlighting to disappear or drop. It will actually mute the edge highlighting, and you don't want to do that. Edge highlighting does a lot for a model, especially one that's, you know, tabletop. It makes it well, it makes it pop. You know, it gives it that really nice, you know, that really nice look. And I made that mistake once before, and will never do it again. Okay, so here I'm just kind of cleaning the airbrush again. That's one of the things too. Certain chemicals like this gloss, because it is thick, it does have a tendency to clog, or you know, I just don't want to do that. So I try to keep my airbrush pretty clean. I'm a stickler for that. All right, so we'll let that dry off a little bit. Doesn't take long. I decided to just go ahead and just get my airbrush, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'll just go ahead and just dry it off here in just a second. But the main thing is we're going to use this matte varnish from Vallejo, and we're going to spray the whole thing down. Again, putting it in the pot, half and half, right? 1 part airbrush thinner, and 1 part matte varnish. Again, that stuff is pretty thick as well. You do not want to try putting that stuff in there just by itself. I mean, you could, but you got to really, really crank up the PSI. You got to crank up the pressure on the air compressor, because otherwise you're going to be sputtering and spitting, and that stuff does come out like, I don't know, like spotted milk, or whatever. Spotted milk. What the hell is spotted milk? All right, you see it? See how it's like a whitish? That's the matte varnish. So diluting it is super, super important. Otherwise, you're going to get, you know, you're going to get little splatters. And you can see it's still kind of wet, a little wet from the gloss. So we're just kind of airbrushing it. That's what we're doing here. But we're just kind of drying it off with the airbrush. And now I'm just going to drop a couple of layers of the matte varnish, and this will tone it down a little bit. Take that gloss off. And it's okay to have a little gloss on your model, especially the Canopy. The Canopy is supposed to be kind of glossy anyway. It's supposed to have that, but that's the whole purpose of putting the reflection, so it gives it that illusion that it is reflecting light. Right, so you've got these little reflection marks. So I'm just kind of going through it right now, making sure that I get an even coat. Again, you don't want patches. You want to make sure that you tone down and scale back that gloss a bit without completely killing it. You don't want to make it look like fog. Be careful, matte varnish has a tendency to do that too. If you go overboard, it'll fog stuff up, and then you will be miserable. Matte varnish is not easy to take off once you've already sprayed it on. Once you have it on there, just like the gloss, you're going to have to strip it. That's the only thing I can tell you, that you want to make sure that once you put it on there, you're done. It's going to stay on. Man, there it is. That's the Canopy. It's pretty much done. I mean, just got to do a little touch up here and there just to dry it off, and then maybe spray a little bit more matte. But I mean, that is it. That's it in a nutshell. Super, super easy. Again, like I said, it only takes about maybe 10 minutes tops. There it is. Look at that. Pretty cool. I think that would look really well. It's going to look awesome on Mythos' flyer for his white scars. Here I am taking a picture because I'm going to send it to him. There you go, Mythos. You actually see me taking a picture of the one that I just sent you. You are welcome. There you go, brother. Hope you like it. I'm pretty proud of that. I think it turned out pretty well. Anyway, so he said he liked it. He liked the way it looked. So hopefully he'll like it as much in person. So I'm pretty stoked. I might be able to get it to him sometime. Maybe even Saturday. He's supposed to be playing a game at a friend's house. So we'll see. We'll see if I can get this to him maybe before then. But yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. Super, super easy. And there you have it, guys. Super, super easy to do. To airbrush a canopy for any of your flyers. Again, guys, only takes about maybe 10 minutes. You know, if you're not too versed on your airbrush, it might take you 20, 30 minutes. But again, a lot of simple techniques. Hope this helps out. Hope you enjoyed it. And by the way, if you liked it, smash the like bell. Smash the like bell. What is a like bell? Smash the like button. And don't forget the subscribe button. Check out our other wonderful YouTube goodies that are there as well. And again, this is going straight to our Patreon page as part of our tutorials stuff. Eventually, we'll make it out to our YouTube channel. But for now, it goes to our homies there at Patreon. Hope you guys like it. Also, you are not receiving these updates. So every time we put out a video, make sure you hit the little bell icon, wherever that might be on the screen. That way you can constantly get alerts and let you know when we put out one of these things out. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you get a lot of it. And by the way, check out our Patreon page. If you're not a Patreon subscriber, I invite you to do it. We put out some content, a lot of tutorials, a lot of behind-the-scene things, and a lot of really good guys there. We're actually talking about maybe putting together a Discord, just little things to that we're throwing out there. So we're excited about that. And by the way, don't forget we have our live stream at 8:30 every Friday night. Your Wolf Brother and me, we're out there. We're gonna hash it out. By the way, come join our crazy team, crazy guys on our chat. We keep the chat popping. We have a lot of fun. A great time here at the Frost and Fist every Friday night at 8:30 p.m. Central. So come check us out, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care.